I decided to memorize another classic chess game. I looked up a game by the oldest chess author whose games still survive, Greco. Let's take a look at Greco's Wikipedia page. So Gioachino Greco lived from about 1600 to 1634. He was an Italian chess player and writer. He recorded some of the earliest chess games known in their entirety. His games, which never indicated players, were quite possibly constructs, but served as examples of brilliant combinations. Greco was very likely the strongest player of his time, having played and defeated the best players of Rome, Paris, London, and Madrid. Greco's writing was in the form of manuscripts for his patrons in which he outlined the rules of chess, gave playing advice, and presented instructive games. These manuscripts were later published to a wide audience and became massively influential after his death. You can see some of his games and ideas on his Wikipedia page. Probably can find all of his games online that survived. I wanted to read a quote here about Greco. This was written in 1900 by J.A. Leon. Greco was the Morphy of the 17th century, and it may safely be said that in brilliancy and fertility of invention he has never been surpassed. Now, Greco has a few minor openings with his name attached to them, but he was the first person to play a couple of openings that don't have his name attached to him. We've been looking at the Latvian gambit in my recent videos, and it turns out Greco is the first person to have published games where he played that opening. He's also the first person to play Philidor's defense, which we're going to look at in this game, which was played around the year 1620 against some anonymous player. Or perhaps Greco made the game up. So Greco is white, and they played the Philidor defense, which is the move d6 here. Now d4 is a common move played today, but bishop c4 seems reasonable as in this game. Black plays bishop to g4 to pin the knight. White attacks the bishop. Bishop trades. Queen comes out, and there's a mate threat on f7. Black decides to block that with queen f6. And now white makes a move that should look familiar to people who know the opera game. Queen to b3. Same maneuver that Morphy played. Okay, and this attacks the pawn on b7. So black pushed it forward to guard it. White develops the knight, and the threat is to bring the knight in to d5 and attack the queen and the weak c7 pawn, from which it would fork the king and the rook. So black plays reasonable looking move, c6, guarding that square, and white plays knight to d5 anyway. Okay, brilliant combination. The point is black cannot take the knight. Instead, black played queen to d8, but let's see what happens if black does take the knight. Well, the bishop takes the pawn and attacks the rook in the corner, and there's no defense to the rook. So white's going to go up material. So the knight seems to be immune there, and the queen is under attack, and also black has to watch out for knight to c7, forking the king and the rook. So the only try is queen to d8 to guard the c7 square. Okay, after queen to d8, white continues with his brilliant tactical play. Knight takes b6. Okay. The point is there's an attack on f7 here. Black does take the knight with the queen, but white plays bishop takes f7 check. So already white has two pawns for his sacrificed knight, but he's going to win more, it seems, because the knight on g8 is en prise. The king moves to d7, and white takes the knight. However, black does play d5 in this position, breaking contact between the queen and the bishop, threatening to trap the bishop. So black seems like he's going to take it. So what does white do in this position? Maybe he can take the queen and then barely get the bishop to safety. But that doesn't look so good because g6 traps it in. Well, white continues to play brilliantly with e takes d5, seeming to give up the bishop. But the point is, if black takes the bishop, white's going to take the rook. Okay, black didn't take the bishop. Black took the queen. Okay, but if black did take the bishop, then d takes c6 check will win the rook back on the next move, and white will be up too much material. So black tries taking the queen first, reasoning, well, now when white recaptures my queen with a pawn, then I'll take the bishop. But white doesn't do that. White plays the final nail in the coffin, d takes c6 check. And after knight takes c6, white recovers the queen with his bishop and gets his bishop to safety. So that was a long combination from knight takes b6, giving up a piece, to winning the knight on g8 back and picking up 3 pawns in the process. So black is down 3 pawns in this position and resigned. Okay, very instructive game from 400 years ago. All right, thanks for watching.